Well, otherwise it just got a question mark.
Or is it? Yeah, it's gonna be 8. Wait, why are there 2?
And we're live.
And we're live. Woohoo! Psychotechnologies live.
Welcome to Psychotechnologies live. Woo!
Woohoo! So you want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay. The thing I want to talk about today is my finger enough. Is locus of control. So internal versus external locus of control. So there are. Do you know what that concept is? Do you know what the idea is?
Yeah, but you better explain for.
I'm sure they know. Okay, fine, I'll explain. So there's this idea of where does power or change or effect or control essentially come from. So so there's, they kind of split it down the middle. So there's internal and external. So there's, I can do this thing, I can change my life, I can make the world better, I can do that. Or is it, things aren't working because of these other people? So you see this a lot, like in the meta-modern space, right? Where you have, billionaires are ruining the world or something, right? So it's very external locus of control. It's other people, it's somewhere outside me, versus The Last Psychiatrist. Have you read The Last Psychiatrist? Yeah, oh my god, that blog is so good, but trigger warning, like all of them, for people that are going to read that. Versus everything, he's like the exact opposite of that, where everything is your fault, right? Why the world is a bad place, it's 100% on you. You're doing everything wrong and it's making the world bad, and now he has to drink a lot because of that. And so you get these, I think probably a healthy view is somewhere recognizing that there's internal locus, like there are things that you can change and there are things that you can't change, and knowing the difference. What's that prayer thing where it's
wisdom, strength, wisdom, and power. God, give me the
strength to change the things I don't. I can. The serenity to accept the things that I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. Yeah.
Yes. Right.
And so that locus of control thing, I think it's one of those ideas that like once you see it, it actually explains quite a bit of human behavior. And is actually really powerful.
Yeah, I think the one thing that can go wrong is when we just put the locus of control in the wrong one. Like it is in fact in my control, but I put it in the external control, or it is in fact externally not in my control, but I'm pretending like it's all my responsibility to take on this heavy burden.
Yeah. That's interesting. It's like you're in my life when you say that.
So it's not necessarily that it's always one or always the other. It's that when we confuse which one is the right one. And trickily, it is kind of always a bit of both.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the idea, like what the idea is or what the concept is. Or what the thing that you're looking at is, like depending on how it's cut, it could be some sort of mixture in between. It's interesting because I think one of the things that is immediately coming to mind, just I guess we were talking about politics last time, is just politics in general. It feels like something that's very much one of those things that I think is like a noob trap in a way, where when people are new to learning about politics, they think they have control over it. And then after you get frustrated and you get angry and you demonize half the population, you realize that you actually don't have any control over it. And the external locus of control I don't even think it's in the politicians. It's just in these like superstructures that are, or super systems or something, that are just far beyond any individual human.
Interesting. So I want to name the benefit, right? So the benefit of an internal locus of control for a phenomena is that now I can do something about it. You know, people don't like me because of the way I talk, right? I've said it's the way that I talk. It is something internally that then I can change the way I talk, and then people will like me. Great. That the phenomena that people don't like me, it's because I have an internal locus of control. An external locus of control would be people don't like me because there's something wrong with them, and then I can't actually do anything about that. I can, well, I guess I can kind of be compassionate because there's something wrong with them, but I'm kind of stuck.
Yeah, you have a sense of, there's a sense of powerlessness, I think. Like that's, at least that's what's coming up for me when
people don't like me because they are the haters, and they will be haters.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Now what do I do? And
yeah,
in some sense, that's useful, because if there will always be haters, then I have to learn to put up with them rather than try and change the way I speak in order to resolve them. But something where internal locus of control gives me the capacity to deal with it, or to modulate the phenomena by my own actions. And then the downside of the internal locus of control is that suddenly, weight on my shoulders, I am responsible for changing the way I speak so that people like me. And if I just can't do it, you know, for some reason, it is too hard to change the way I speak, maybe let's change it from speak to the way I look. You know, I'm just broke. I can't change the way I look. I'm going to look a bit cheap because I can't afford fancier objects. And so I can't change the way I look because of, well, funnily enough, an external circumstance. And so powerless.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's the disadvantage of an internal locus of control is the responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the, it's both like the upside and the downside is the responsibility.
Right. And then we can do the same for the external locus of control. So if I use the same example, people don't like me because they're weird or because they're haters. I've created an external locus of control that is, it's a weight off my shoulders. I'm free. Fuck the haters. It's their problem. They're not. They'll always be haters. I am fine. It's their problem. I get to leave it with them. I get some like freedom and autonomy from that. But at the same time, the downside is there will always be haters. Oh no, I'm suffering because there's a negative. I put the bad thing outside and it's uncontrollable.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you sin when you make that when you do that incorrectly, or you do that for like alternative purposes or something. Versus
like, we make there's like, is the universe good or bad, right? And when I say externalize control of a negative phenomena, then I've made the universe, I've said the universe has a bad thing in it and I can do nothing about it, right? And that really sucks because I live in a bad world. If I externalize good phenomena, you know, then I've said the universe is good, mostly good, generally good, probably good, and I don't need to do anything about it. I'm at peace because the universe is generally good. If I've internalized the negative phenomena, well, it depends. If I can change, if I've internalized it, then I can probably change it, right? Like, people don't like me because I need to talk better. I've internalized something I can change, as opposed to if I've internalized something I can't change, like people don't like me because I can't afford fancier clothes. Like, oh no, now I've made bad me.
Yeah. I think this is one of those things that that cause, I think, like anxiety and stress and that overwhelm, like a sense of overwhelmness, is when you're trying to do these things where you're like, these things are within my locus of control. And I think there's also a trap in the sense that you have a limited amount of capacity, and taking, like, there might be 100 things that could be within your locus of control, but maybe you can only do 10. And so for each thing, if you're not like paying attention to your capacity when you're deciding if this is within your locus of control or not, then you could wind up in the situation where you think all these things are changeable, and individually they're all changeable, but together they're not. Or vice versa. The other way around, where okay, maybe, you can't change your, like, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do that. But if you sort of work on all these things together, then it becomes its own thing, and you can move up on it.
You can better yourself through a combination.
Yeah, and you can sort of like play them off each other. I think the wealth example that you brought up is a good example, where if you don't have wealth and you can't shower and wear nice clothes and brush your teeth and all that stuff, like, then you can't get a job, and then you can't, because you can't have a job, you can't get wealth, and you don't have like a place to live. Like, you wind up having this cycle. So you can look at that you can look at that system itself and try to tackle the system, where all these things are individually outside your locus of control. But if you find a little bit of wiggle room, and then you figure out, you try to figure out a way to build that system, then you can get out of that.
Right. So if we take homeless people and we create a hotel room service where occasionally they can book a hotel room just before they have a job appointment.
Yeah.
They can shower and clean and get changed, and then they can go to their job, get a job.
Right. And maybe like a mailing address or something, right? Then they can show up to I'm not saying this is the social change. And again, I know somebody's going to misinterpret it as this is the solution to all homeless problems, and there is no other need for anything else. And Daniel's just oversimplifying it. I'm not, but I'm saying, like, this is a complicated system. And there are a lot of things that are going on here. And I think, like, if, for example, like, this is the thing we're talking about, right? I think homelessness is something that's at least beyond my control and stuff. But beyond sort of society's control, but there are certain aspects of it that, leverage points that you can start to target that will
maybe can help people.
Yeah, like, people can be helped, and suffering isn't going to go away. Like, problems aren't going to go away.
I am repeatedly fascinated by, it seems like people end up suffering a lot more when they cannot tolerate a simple suffering.
Yeah.
The example is you're getting bored, and so you go on your phone, and then you are distracted, and you're not learning the thing that you're currently meant to be doing because you are.
Where you're not paying attention to the road, yeah. Because it's a red light, and you're gonna be there for 10 seconds.
Right. But there's a lot more suffering because people can't tolerate the small suffering, remarkably. And I have it too. I also cannot tolerate small suffering in certain ways. But I
know this because I know this from my own life as well as observing other people's lives.
I'm amazed at how much it hurts us as people, humanity, individuals. Yeah, there is something about Peterson. Like, Peterson's really into this, and like there's a bunch of different, I think, angles on this. And Peterson's is to face the suffering with honor or something. And like, that's a thing of that was actually like really, really like influential on me to move towards the suffering, and to look at it, and to move that direction, and to face it head on. It makes it less. It reduces it, but also
also there's like that, there's that sense of I'm doing this to myself, which I think is what reduces it, but also because I guess it's like that becomes the internal locus of control, but it's also not, because you're taking on the suffering, and I wouldn't never have taken on willingly. I'm only willingly taking it on because I know there's going to be more suffering later if I don't. And so there's something about the external locus of control being that I'm going to suffer, but then this individual suffering is of my own choosing. And then also, sorry.
I have observed in a meditative discovery, there's a way in which if I don't address a sensation, it gets louder. So I'm having a pain somewhere and I keep ignoring it, the pain actually gets worse. It gets louder and louder and louder until it's big blob of pain. But from a meditative perspective, if I go towards it, at first it hurts and then it gets smaller and smaller and smaller until it's back where it first started. And so the total pain is actually a lot less, because it's just, if I catch it early, it's like, oh, yep, that was, I can feel it. By moving towards that suffering sensation, I skip a whole, quite literal sense, I skip a whole phenomena of suffering because I'm super vigilant and gonna go straight towards it.
Yeah, it's like an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Yes.
And from the rationalist perspective, it's going to be like, it's like what's the counterfactual suffering, and how do I pick the world that has the smallest amount in it? Yeah, and it's interesting because there's variance is also a lot. I noticed where you can pick something that's a sort of slow burn over time, or you can pick things that are sharp all at once. Like ripping a band-aid off versus like pulling it off slowly. And I find actually, like, sometimes it's this way, sometimes it's that way. It's not, you don't necessarily always want to do the sharp all at once one. Sometimes the slow burn is fine, but sometimes it's not, and you gotta like steel yourself and move into that pain, or else it's just gonna death by 1,000 cuts.
If someone said to me, what you need to do is move towards pain, I would have been like, no. No, why would I? That's stupid. So there's
that advice has to be very carefully given,
right? So because there is which I don't want to move towards pain at all. In fact, I don't want any pain. I want to move away from pain, and yet somehow by moving towards the pain, I end up with less of it.
Yeah, now I'm having this vision of like moving like down a tunnel or something, or like driving on the street and just like all this like stuff everywhere. And if you go down the street, like, you're actually fine. It's when you start to veer off to other stuff. If you think about like a racing game where if you're on the road, exactly, like, you want to drive fast and if you drive on the road, then you'll be going faster. But if you drive off the road, you'll be going slower. And so you're it's less. This is a bad metaphor. I just had this visualization of like finding this like critical path through things, of moving through the space and not getting hit by all the, like, going down the stream instead of.
It took me a chunk of wisdom to recognize the critical path is move towards the painful thing rather than avoid it.
Yeah, because the thing itself is usually not pain. It's usually all the things surrounding it. So if you actually just do the thing itself, or experience, like, grief is a big one, where if you just experience the grief and the loss, not that I'm saying it's easy, right? Obviously not, depending on the situation. But if you experience the grief and loss, it's not that bad. It actually, like, there's actually something that feels good about it.
This is
which I probably shouldn't say because it's psychopath
as well. But it seems like our anticipation of a feeling, I anticipate it's gonna be like, fear is scary, right? But I anticipate it's gonna be like this scary, And then you go and see it. It's actually, it's scary, but it's not like that scary. It's like, oh, yeah, that's scary.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's something.
My anticipating system that was expecting it to be so much worse. And I, having done this enough times that I practiced going to it, finding out that my anticipation was actually quite over exaggerated.
Yeah.
Like, who wants to be in fear? Like, fear, not so great, but it's not that bad.
Yeah, I think, yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. I think something else that's interesting to me around this is that the fear it's protecting you from something, but it's not always harm that it's protecting you from. Or at least it's not physical harm necessarily. Like, it might be accepting hard truths or something.
Well, what we do is we have the physical phenomena that are like pain and sensation, and we have the emotional phenomena that start building guards around the physical, right? I want to be afraid of things that will cause me pain, so I build the like fear fence around like dangerous things, and then I start using my emotional phenomena to sometimes not just guard around the physical, but guard around other emotional phenomena.
Yeah.
Or other mental phenomena.
That's like psychology. Then psychology, I think, shows up there. You develop these patterns to protect you from emotional harm, which is designed to protect you from.
I'm so ashamed, right? I've got a feeling of like verbal phenomena.
Yeah.
And like an embarrassment.
Yeah. Yeah. Or well, so I think shame is probably the actual emotional experience, which is designed to protect you from the physical harm. But then you have, I guess, like disorders or something would be something to protect you from the emotional pain. This is my theory a little bit.
What do you mean by like mental disorders?
Yeah. So if you have not neurological, but psychological. So if you have like borderline or something, or narcissism, like these are ways of protecting you from certain emotions that are going to be, or certain manifestations of emotions or something like that, that are going to be just too painful to understand, just too painful to experience, or sorry, that you think are going to be too painful to experience.
We anticipate it's going to be really bad.
I
talked about as strategies. So mental pathology as a strategy, or in that context, it was a survival strategy. So I choose to take on a narcissistic personality as a survival strategy because I grew up in a context where I needed to believe I was the best, or everyone would shut me down, and that would I would be depressed.
Then I would be depressed, and then So like depression is anger. They say depression is anger turned inwards and things like that. So if you're in this situation where like anger is a boundary violation, so you're right. So if somebody violates your boundaries, you can get angry and attack, do that. But if you're in an environment that's not safe to be angry and push out against that, then that's going to start to sublimate, I think, into depression, where you're like, oh, I don't have any boundaries. I don't need not I don't need them, but I don't deserve them or something.
Well, potentially there's a survival there. I'm depressed, but I'm living, as opposed to I am outwardly being angry at my environment and they kill me because society. And I'm not dead if I offended too many people, or starved to death because they kicked me out, unprotected by my group.
I mean, all the reasons why getting angry might lead to your demise. There's just all the possible reasons there. But mostly it's other people.
So I've seen it referred to as survival strategy, and the proposal is that we pick up these strategies to guard against something. So there is some, let's say, something like unconscionable phenomena, like maybe it's loneliness, right? And so I developed, and I when I was very young, touched loneliness, like accidentally went, wow, that's really, really bad. Remembered in my anticipatory knowing that if I go near there again, it's going to be really bad. And so I developed a strategy of maximum extroversion. I need to like go out and interact with people all the time, and I'm a loudmouth and people get annoyed at me because I'm always jumping into their business, because there's a loneliness that I can't touch because I'm terrified of touching. And so there's a therapeutically, there's a process of holding our strategies and then looking at what they're protecting and what's underneath them. And as we start to do that, we can probably, as an adult, I know what loneliness is now. I can have a moment of feeling lonely and go like, oh, that is lonely. Huh, that's kind of sad. And that's not going to kill me in the way that I thought it was when I was a little kid. And with that adult mind, I can like look at it again and like refresh and be like, oh, that's okay then. I feel better now that it's just loneliness, you know? And then my whole strategy can relax itself. I may keep some of it because extroversion is a good skill in various circumstances, but I don't need to desperately cling to the strategy of extroversion to keep me alive anymore.
It's, you have like a better attachment style or a better relationship with it.
Right. Now. Specifically with an emotional phenomena that I, like I said, I developed an anticipatory discomfort with like, oh, I can't go. And often the thing that is the worst about these is that because they happened so long ago, we have forgotten what we are anticipatory in fear of. Like that loneliness. The number of times I've found one like a misery or a loneliness, I've been like, really? That's all I was running from? It was nothing in compared to what I thought was a dragon or a beast that I was of my emotional system that I was uncomfortable looking at.
Yeah. I mean, that definitely resonates with me of that constant fear of something, and then when you're actually there, it's not so bad. And also I'm not convinced, like I have this experience as well, and I'm not convinced that the experience that I now or the thing that I now experience now, let's say, when I'm experiencing these things that I was running from, it doesn't have the same impact. Just because like my life is more stable.
Right. So you can encounter the same loneliness, but it doesn't bother you at all, or
it's not that it doesn't bother me. It's that, well, two things. First off, I'm not sure that it would feel the same. But even if it does feel the same, and I'm like reeling from it, and it hurts and all these things, my environment is such that I could just do that for like a week or two or whatever, and that's not so bad, right? Like it's not going to ruin my life
for a week or two.
Yeah, it's going to suck for that time, but there's not going to be like, I'm not going to do stupid shit, and there's people that will be understanding and take care of me, and that stuff, like being down for a while or whatever, not wanting to do things or having like something off, is just, my system is such a way, it's at least robust, maybe some might say anti-fragile, that
You're really into anti-fragile at the moment.
Sorry?
You're really into anti-fragile at the moment.
Yeah, well, because I mean, building anti-fragile stuff is really cool, because it just means like anything that could go wrong goes right, or not anything could go wrong, but like it's the exact opposite of fear. Right. When you live in an anti-fragile system, you're reverse scared all the time. And which is, I guess, like
You're prepared?
So you got wobbly, what?
Are you're prepared? You're not scared, you are instead.
It's not prepared, like you live in an adventure. Like your life is an adventure. You're an explorer, and you go through life, and Yeah, you want to be somewhat prepared, obviously. Yeah. Like, I think practically, like, if we're going to bring it down in abstractness, there's a certain level of preparedness. Like, you got all your stuff. But yeah, if you're going camping and you see a deer, like, that's really cool. If you're at home and there's a deer, like if I'm in an apartment building and there's a deer running around, that's not a good situation. So like when you build in the antifragility, your whole life becomes an adventure. And I don't feel old. Like, that's what it's like to feel young. I think is to have, like, I just look at the baby and like, he's delighted by everything because it's something new and exciting, and all these new things that happen open up his world in ways that he could never have dreamed of.
So I have a theory that when we encounter these phenomena when we're young, like, I'm going to go back to loneliness, right? Our minds aren't really big and open. They're small. They just don't know anything. And so to first find loneliness is way more traumatic than we're an adult and we have all this knowledge and wisdom and experience of the world, and we find that same loneliness. We're like, oh, that was it. So when we're young and doing emotional phenomena, we're encountering what seems like dragons, big things, big beasts that we are needing to work with or deal with, compared to, as an adult, we know what it's like. It's like, oh yeah, I was a bit lonely the other day. It's fun. Went for a walk. Felt better.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I think you're touching on something like a little bit like another aspect of it, which is so it's like the size relative to you, but also it's a size. There's this idea, I think, of the size relative to you. So as you become bigger, you, like, things just are less,
like, relative to the being. So it's almost relative to how long you've been alive rather than relative to how big your body is or something like that.
Yeah.
Relative to how wise your mind is, maybe.
Yeah. But there is also something in the, like, even if I'm catastrophizing the loneliness, in that state, I'm more okay with that.
You're more,
like, especially
catastrophizing it than what?
Like, let's say I were to experience loneliness and then I would have ruminating thoughts of loneliness is the worst thing ever. I'm going to be lonely my whole life. No one will ever talk to me again. I can never connect with a human being. Right? Like, let's say I believe all those things. Like, that's okay. Like, it's not so bad. I mean, it's not okay. Like, I don't want that, but it's not as devastating as when I was a child.
Right.
When you're a child, if you're a child and you're looking at your life and you're like, I can never connect with anyone, you're in for, like, a hard life.
Well, I guess if we think of, given your experience of the world, if you have just drawn the conclusion that no one will love me ever, you got a lot, like, and you look forward to the rest of your life and you project that forward, that's going to feel really bad. Then if you're an adult and you've been loved and been unloved and been all sorts of complex scenarios, and then you have a thought, no one will love me again, you've got this greater context of experience to level that with and be like, well, okay, yeah, other things were interesting even if there wasn't that thing.
Yeah.
It's there's something of, I think, sweeping conclusions where I think minds really like to make sweeping conclusions. Like, that's a bad man.
That's like philosophers. When they get into their mind, they love making these, like, sweeping conclusions about existence.
So
yeah.
There's like a habitual thing that minds like to make sweeping confusions, and then we end up with many mistakes because of the sweeping confusions. Conclusions. And,
I had this one experience, so therefore all experiences are this.
Well, actually, I wonder, there's something called black and white thinking, right? All men are bad. very black and white.
Yeah.
People are evil. Everyone else is evil. And then there's something called gray thinking, right? Some people are more mean than others. Some people are nicer.
Yeah. You're on the gray thinking.
And there's a mental structure where you can black white, and there's a mental structure where you can shades of gray. And it strikes me that sweeping conclusions is very black and white, very universalizing, very like this is how it is, in a way that, as you know, maybe a 4-year-old is doing black and white. If you've ever, there's this age in which kids discover the word no, and you're like, you want to come over here, and they say no, and you're like, so do you want food? No. And then you're like, do you want ice cream? And they're like, no. Yes. You know, they're working out. They've just found the word no, and they're still trying it out everywhere, and then working out that it doesn't always do what they want it to do.
Yeah.
Very black.
I actually really enjoy doing that. Not specifically with the word no, but every time I learn a new idea where I'm like, oh, this is like really awesome, I just apply it to everything and see how it works.
Antifragile phenomena. What you're doing with Antifragile, you're applying Antifragile to everything.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, I forgot. I guess I didn't realize I was doing this.
So I call this the man with the hammer syndrome. And the classic line is, to a man with a hammer, everything looks like a nail. That you just kind of want to whack things with your new way of seeing the world. Like,
just whack stuff and see what happens.
Emotional processing. Have you heard the good word of this other new?
Like when I learned circling, I'm like, okay, let's just do this every single day for 3 hours a day until I get it. Yeah.
Or I get bored of it, get over it, get used to it.
Yeah.
So,
but I think that's how you should learn things. Is you just take it and do it to everything, but also like don't be an idiot about it, or you're not going to want to learn it in the future.
I want to say, like, don't proselytize.
But also be an idiot about it. You know what I mean?
Don't proselytize too hard. Don't try and push it on other people too hard. Enjoy it for yourself, but be careful pushing it on other people. And then, as you see real benefit there, feel free to share the benefit, but don't force it on people. Would be my general advice. Yeah.
Usually, I frame it as like, oh, I'm trying this new thing, or like I'm exploring this, you know, and then if I think they're going to want to, then I'll invite them along. And if I don't, then I'll just give them a heads up so they're not too weirded out.
I have done this so many times with so many models and so many versions of, here's a cool new idea that I found, so many books that I had read. At some point, I was reading more than 50 books a year. At one point, it was up at 130 books a year, like a lot of books. And
it's a lot of books.
I had a few experiences with that. One is that, like, one book would say it like this, and a couple of days later, this book would say it like this, right? And I would get, oh, this is the same phenomena said slightly differently. And it was because both books were so live in my head that I had just read them both, that I could do, like, they're talking about the same thing.
You could like put the maps over each other. Right.
And especially, you know, and imagine that, but 50 times, 130 times over the course of the year. And then I've done that so many times that I'm like, oh yes, here we go. This is the new model that I am now seeing the world through. This is the personality typing system. This is the political chart system. This is the new way of seeing the world. I've done it so many times that I'm used to it. I'm like, okay, this is I have the hang of this. This is my new tool. I'll use it a little, try not to use it too much, try not to shove it on people. Like, try this. Like, yeah. I think it's a human habit. Humans do this thing where they
I think this is the way to learn. I think people should be doing this intentionally. Of when they find something new, just try it on everything. It really, because it builds out your picture of the model, and it builds out your picture of reality. And it's really cool because you wind up finding out things that, because you try weird experiments that you would never normally do. And you find out, like, oh, actually the world is completely different than how, or there's this like whole phenomenology that just I didn't know existed.
Well, You could also call it like a cross-domain knowledge. So you're looking at rocks and you're looking at how rocks form in this layer, and then you take there's like this cool layer thing, right? And you take that, you're talking to someone, and suddenly you're seeing their personality form in layers.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the same thing. Or
Yeah.
you take an idea from chemistry like activation energy, right? You need to overcome a certain barrier, and then you can to strike the match, and then it takes off and it burns and it reduces the final energy lower, right?
Yeah,
and I'm going to take that, and again, I'm going to see it in the way that people work, or I'm going to see it in the way that this business makes decisions. That
I see that concept all the time of like activation energy into fractionalists. They talk about local maximums,
right?
And so there's often you're in a local maximum, and there's activation energy. You need activation energy to get to the other local
out of your maxima into the next thing, into the possibility that there's a better one.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's a chemistry thing that we like the metaphor, we like the moral, and we suddenly we start seeing it in so many other places because humans are really good pattern finders.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a thing. And then you use that terminology, people are like, oh no, that's chemistry. You can't use it here.
Oh yeah, well that's where you get to like quantum evolution territory, and people are like, no, you can't mix physics and biology. What are you talking about? You're making things up when you use the word quantum and evolution in the same sentence. There is no such thing.
Yeah.
Well, here's my proposal is that
this is my first time hearing that concept, by the way, but already it sounds interesting and intriguing.
Well, often like spiritual language will co-opt scientific language, like and then like they like the word evolution as well, right? And they'll co-opt those and my proposal is they're doing it metaphorically. They're metaphorically describing a spiritual structure that they are seeing using scientific language that really probably doesn't belong to the spiritual structures, but we don't have any other language to talk about spiritual structures.
Whatever. Scientists always steal words from other places. I think it's only fair, right? Like Adam is from like Greek philosophy, right? They didn't make up their own word.
There was a time when philosophy was very much mushed in with science, and now it's a little bit more separate. So
but whatever. Adam is I think the smallest unit or something. They philosophize.
Physicists sort of name things after themselves, so that's where they get things from.
Yeah, so I think it's fine because like at the end of the day, we're all just people trying to figure it out, and you can't create whole new systems of it doesn't make sense to create whole new systems of nomenclature for every single field if you don't have to. I say if you don't have to, sometimes you have to, but but like in general, you want to be using, because otherwise there's just more words you have to know, and I think humans have a limited amount of words they can know. I don't know if that's true, but I think it's true.
We sort of use the words to point to the structures of reality that we see anyway.
Yeah.
We're busy. The words sort of follow debatably, and depends on the way that your consciousness is set up, but the words sort of follow the descriptively reality. Like reality, there was blue before we named it blue.
I mean, there was that set of light waves for sure.
Right. There was that set of light waves. There was people perceiving it. There was eyeballs.
Right, and I guess someone just went
until we had a dye that could dye things blue, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. Blue, I think, is one of the last ones invented.
Yeah, named. Yes.
Yeah, I guess named, but like out of the normal ones that we use, because people are always inventing new colors now. But
yes.
Or I guess describing, really.
Yes.
Did you know that there's I don't know if you know this, actually. I was gonna do a thing on this. You can actually experience colors that don't exist.
Yes. Very cool.
Yeah. So there's actually a bunch of ways. I don't know if we should spoil it because I kind of wanted to make it into a thing. Well, I guess we can give our viewers a little heads up. But it's cool because you, so what happens is, I'll just explain it so that people know. The way light works is the kind of two things you need to know about light is that it's all light is on a the light spectrum essentially. So the visible light that we can see is from infrared or from red, it goes into infrared, red to violet or ultraviolet is where we stop being able to see that. And so all visible light except for pink exists as a wavelength in between that.
Well, there's like a brown, where brown is a mixture of two wavelengths, and we see it as brown rather than as like anyway.
Maybe, yeah. So there's a couple of them that I think are like that, where if you get certain subsections of the wavelength together, then you get weird colors. So I think pink is like that, and I guess brown is. I didn't know that. And then the other thing you need to know is that there's most people have three cones inside their eyes that pick up different light. So they're all binary colors. So it's red, green. Red, green is one that some people are missing, and those people, we call them colorblind. I have a friend like that. And then there's yellow something, and I forgot the other one. Red, or I don't know. I don't remember. You can just Wikipedia this. Whatever. There's three cones. I don't remember. And sorry?
Blue, green, red, I think.
Blue and red.
Blue and green and red are the three cone, and they're sensitive to certain wavelengths of light. Yeah.
And so you pick up that, so you have the wavelength of light, which is the physical phenomenology that exists outside you. Then you have the cones inside your eyes, which is the mechanism that your body uses to detect the photons or the wavelengths, whatever. I'm not gonna go there. And then it transmits to your brain and gives you that experience of the color. And so what you can do, so there's a couple ways to, so technically all colors have been discovered, right? Because they're all on the wavelength. But you can actually experience colors that don't exist on the light spectrum. And so there's a couple different ways to do it, but the main way to do it is so there's also the phenomenon of the afterglow. So if you look at a light,
they're at the sun.
Well, don't look at the sun because you're going to damage your eyes. But if you look at a light bulb, if you look at the light bulb and then you look away from light bulb on a solid background, you'll actually see like an after image of the light, where I think it's the photosensors in your light have been saturated, and so they're not picking up light like the rest of them, like the rest of your eye. So you get this sort of, like, it's generally like a green or like a dark, yeah, it's often like a green or a yellow kind of spot. So you can there's this Wikipedia article that goes through it all. You can take a certain color. You can take, I think it's pink, and if you stare at pink for like this pink circle for 30 seconds, then you look at a black. I should have researched this right before, but if you look at a black dot, then you'll get this new color that just didn't exist, like that you've just never seen before. And there's a bunch of them like that, where you stare at a thing and then you stare at another thing, and now you're experiencing a color you've never experienced before. I think you can get very dark black, very deep blue, very strong. It's not exactly a dark black. It's like this it's like a pink black or something. It's like a weird color. Like it's not a real color. It's not a real color. That's what's cool. It's like it's not a real color, and it's actually really hard to describe sometimes. And it doesn't last so long, so you gotta, a couple of seconds. Yeah, but it lasts long enough to like look at it, because like you're looking at it, right? Like I'm looking at the thing and I'm like, this dot is this color. And I know that it's, you know, I know that to other people it's not gonna look like that, but you know, to me, and I know to me later it's not gonna look like that, but to me in this moment, I'm experiencing like this new color that that didn't exist before and doesn't follow the rules of colors.
Have you ever heard of the colorblindness glasses?
Yeah.
This is, I'd like to tell more people. There's a company out there that makes sunglasses. So there's a colorblindness, red-green colorblindness. The peaks of the wavelengths of the colors are very close together. And so what happens is people's are born with a genetic difficulty where they can't see the two peaks as separate. They're just like a little bit too close together. They're detecting cells. And so what we do with these colorblindness glasses is it's called a notch filter. So the wavelength comes in and then we push it like a little bit further that way. It's just like a piece of plastic, right? That is like a pair of sunglasses. And suddenly the green and the red-green peaks are slightly further apart. And so someone who usually can't see them because they're too close together, you know, and you'll say, is that red or green? And they'll go, red, and they'll get it wrong sometimes. So someone,
I have a friend who's genuinely like that.
Right. So,
like
the glasses are like $200, I don't know. And then suddenly those peaks are further apart. And so this person can differentiate, like grass is actually green and certain other things are actually red, as opposed to them being basically the same color.
Yeah. I wanted to tie this into the seeing the new color as I guess a metaphor, because that's how we're referring to this stuff now. As like a metaphor for a lot of the consciousness exploration stuff, where you experience something that doesn't make sense exactly, right? Like I don't believe in this supernatural colors really, or whatever, like maybe the way we talk about it, but like it's not like I'm trying to like redefine science by saying there's this color that doesn't exist and doesn't follow the rules of physics or whatever, right? Like it just doesn't follow the normal way that colors work, but it is real and it's a real experience, and there is something also mind-opening about that, where you experience something new for the first time that's very different than the way you've experienced things before.
They're about $400 for the glasses if you want to go US, I assume that is.
Yeah, that's too much. I'm spending $400 on that.
Yeah, like if I wasn't colorblind, I would be like, whatever. It's more of a novelty than it is a like profoundly amazing. Although some people seem to really enjoy it. I've tried them. I had a science nerd who got a pair because they were cool, but you know, they're just interesting. You see the colors a bit more vividly, but it's just a very normal to me.
Yeah, I mean that kind of stuff is cool. I think there is something about having mind-altering experiences, like having like phenomenological altering experiences that let you give you an a deeper understanding of things that you could not have understood before. I think people are quick to move into drugs for that, because drugs are very very straightforwardly and that's what they do. But you can always you can still do a lot, like you can still have a lot of these, you can still open up yourself a lot of ways without using drugs, right? So for like this one, you're just looking at a color and then looking at another color, right? There's probably not going to be any.
The most obvious one I know about is if you hold your breath, and if you hold your breath for long enough, eventually you'll have this experience where the world starts like closing in, which is like everything gets smaller and quicker, and
yeah,
oh no,
like the light
the only thing that matters is if I actually breathe now.
Yeah, like the lights start to go out. Is how I describe that.
Which is fascinating, and that's we forget, but our perceptions are that alterable. All you have to do is hold your breath for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of sports and stuff does this, or not just sports, but any sort of physical, like physical stress or something where you're like pushing yourself to your max. I don't know what that's called.
Well, there's like the runner's high.
Yeah, yeah. Runner's high is like actual like endorphins and stuff.
Mm.
There's an actual like thing that happens from that.
Mm-hmm.
Sleep deprivation gets you all lets you hallucinate.
Yes. Right.
Also fevers.
So one time I caught a plane, and it was like this is many years ago. I think it was 40 or coming up to 50 hours of flying, and 50 hours of being awake. And
wow, that's a lot.
I was on a plane, and planes are very noisy. There's a background. Anyway, there I was sitting on the plane, slightly delirious because I was exhausted, and there's the sound of the engine came up like a symphony. It's like somewhere in the distance I could hear the plane engine was actually like symphonic music, and it was like.
See, was it like was it that you were hearing music, or was it like that you were hearing the noise but you were experiencing it as music or something?
Kind of a mixture of both. Like it really, I was like, this is definitely just the plane noise. But then I was also like, this sounds like a symphony. It's like overtures and undertures and like instruments playing like this, and like a classical musical piece. Where different instruments will jump in and jump out variously. And I think it's probably my audio perception was tuning in and out to different parts of the noise. So they're like thump, 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 or they're like, or the, but there's noise fully across the whole spectrum. So as you are, because I was so tired, I'd be like tuning into one and then tuning into another, and it was, it really did feel like instruments were coming in and then fading out in this construction of classical music. Anyway, that's sleep deprivation for you.
Sorry?
That's sleep deprivation for you.
Yeah. I think this phenomenology, that like this experience of that is a really good metaphor, I think, for a lot of like the deeper psychotechnology or the deeper attitude, where like I guess technically life is just chaos and randomness or something, but or existence is just random, but like fuck off, right? You know what I mean? Like it's like you can listen to it as a symphony, and you can experience it as such, and you can see how things play into each other, and you can enjoy that. You don't have to just suffer because the engine is making noise. You can, I guess, see the beauty in that, or construct the beauty.
Well, it was definitely beautiful. I considered like trying to record it or trying to. I was like, oh, this will never reproduce.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing. I think that's why people are sort of adverse to seeing the beauty and stuff. Because you can do it in a self-delusional way where you're like, oh, this thing is like that, and that's what's beautiful, and trying to get that in between, that balance where it's like you're standing like, yes, this is reality, yes, this is how it works, and yes, there's beauty here. I don't know, maybe that's just like whatever. It's hard to live without enjoying life. Like, how are you gonna make it through?
And we can call this a meta narrative or a psychotech of like, would it be so bad if all your job was to enjoy life, like see beauty in things and time with it?
I think that is an important job in life. Like, you have to do that, or you're not going to make it through to the end in the way you want it. Right? Everyone makes it to the end, but you're not going to make it. Like, you're not going to make it in the way that you want to make it.
You won't get anywhere near where you want to go if you can't enjoy it along the way.
Yeah,
This is
you're going to get distracted by random things.
There's a balance between like a hedonic, like enjoying it along the way, and trying to get to a target. Like I'm only here so that I can climb that mountain.
Well, there's both. Like I think there's a symphony of both. Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, I agree. That's what I'm pointing to. That
Yeah.
you can't do enjoying along the way. You're not going to make it up the mountain either.
Yeah. 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 Like if your like goal is to climb Mount Everest, you can't just be miserable the whole time.
Well,
you can't just start off miserable.
If you start off miserable, it's miserable the whole way. You get to the top and it's still
You're
miserable.
just gonna be like, fuck this, I'm out.
Right.
And hopefully
you might not even
gonna
make it to the top because it's so miserable.
Yeah.
But if you enjoy it the whole way, you're much more likely to make it to the top.
Right. And then on the other side of that, if you're just like indulging the whole time and you're not,
you're gonna get very fat very quickly, and then you're gonna die.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
You need long-term goals to go. You need the balance of both.
Yeah, I think it's you need the balance, but you need them also to be the same. Like you need to enjoy the journey of moving, of whatever it is that you're doing. So it needs to be worthwhile at the end, but it needs to be worthwhile during as well. At least for most of it, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be every single thing. Every moment doesn't have to be ecstasy, but.
And I think there's a
mostly
difficulty in there because the balance isn't uniform in each moment. Some moments you'll be able to move towards goals, other moments you'll have to just stop and enjoy. It's actually a constantly moving balance rather than a stationary one. It's not like half of the goal will be getting there and the other half will be along the journey. It's not like that. It's not like 90% is on the goal and 10% is the journey. It's not like that either. It's not even like 90% is the journey and 10% is the goal. It's that in various moments, different amounts of journey and goal will become salient.
Yeah.
And they need to keep doing that to keep you on the path.
Yeah. And there's a trade-off, I think, as well. At least for me, I find like when I'm salient, when the in the moment is salient, then that's just enjoying life. But then when the goal is salient, it's because I'm not enjoying what's going on now, and I'm like borrowing happiness kind of against the goal. I'm like, okay, I can enjoy myself now because I'll get this other thing later.
Right, cleaning the house. We talked earlier about boring tasks, right? The boring mundanity of life is made meaningful by the long-term intention behind it.
Yeah, this is a good connection. It's because I think it's all tying in, right? Because you're the mundanity of life. It's not like it's hard, right? Like just like doing laundry or dishes and stuff is hard. Like it's hard, unpleasant work unless you're into that, right? Like unless you're into that, which is like unless you're enjoying the experience. The more you're enjoying the experience, the less you need to think about other things. And then, but also the goal, like keeping in mind, like, why are you doing this? And I think that's where having purpose and meaning in your life comes in, because you can start to borrow against that. You start to be like, oh, I'm doing this, right? Like ostensibly you're doing the dishes so that your kitchen won't smell and you'll be able to have clean dishes later. But and you can borrow a certain amount of pleasure from that, but you kind of want something bigger where it's, well, what's the purpose to all of this? What's the purpose to my life and eating and all these things? And when you have something big, you gotta kind of borrow against that and let it stabilize you. That's why they call it like the North Star, where it's like you're heading that direction, but it also should be providing value now, I think.
Actually, the North Star is a very interesting metaphor because I take it as like a sailing target. So you're sailing your boat and you point the boat towards the North Star, but you know that you don't actually get to the North Star. You only get in the direction of the North Star, because the star is actually all the way up there. Like
the North Star isn't the goal. It's something else. Something else is the goal. The North Star is you're using that to orient, I think. But Yeah, maybe that metaphor was a little.
No, it's a very interesting metaphor, because often we will have a goal similarly just to point us in the right direction, like I want to be successful or something, and that'll take me over there.
Yeah, and you got to
Where
borrow.
I'll end up is somewhere along the way, in the direction of more successful, but I may not actually get to the star.
Right. So you want to be careful, like what goals you pick, I think, because like if you're doing, I want to be, like, if you're saying I want to be successful, and then those are just words, but if you have depending on what your image of success is, depends along like what that path is like, and what happens when you realize that dream is just fantasy, it's not actually reality. And where are you ending up? And I think you want to live your life, and you want to define your terms in a way where, when you realize that everything that you've been dreaming of is false, you wake up, you're like, okay, actually this isn't so bad, right? Like if you've been a good person along the way and you're trying your best. And I like a lot of, like, the capitalism is like a big range of stuff, but there's some stuff of the stuff I like is providing value. So if you're saying, oh, I want to be rich, you get rich to provide value. Even if you don't wind up being rich, you gotta like feel good about yourself. And that's versus if you're going like this other direction of you need to cut throat and screw everyone else over. Like that's also a story of capitalism. And that one, you're not gonna like yourself at the end of the day.
You might have got the riches, but you don't like yourself at the end.
And even you might not get the riches. Like I don't think that route is. I think that route is less likely to end up rich.
I would tend to lean on the side of good actions in the world pay back double anyway. Like if you help them, they will help you. Amazing. Wow. And there's something of a, if I live in a world of cutthroat, then someone's going to cutthroat me later. But if I live in a world of great positive sum at all times, then as I keep giving that great positive sum, many people will give to me great positive sum as well.
Yes, but also like naivete doesn't let you just win.
No,
necessarily. Sometimes I think it does, but in general it doesn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's what I mean. Like if you're constantly looking for the positive sum relationships, then when everything goes to shit, you're still going to have this skill at the end of the day. And
well, this is also, I don't know if you're familiar with Game B.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
There's a community called Game B, and they talk about Game A being the like zero sum I have to take from you in order to have, and Game B is positive sum that I should add more and give back, and we should have plenty for everyone, or that we should pick different values that are not, our values are not in the direction of step on others to stand taller.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, like I think there's something about the real treasures, the friends you made along the way, and that being very true in a larger sense. Also in that sense, but also in the larger sense, like if you're going on that treasure hunt and you're making friends with everyone along the way, that is the real treasure to a certain extent. Not that I'm knocking treasure, right? Treasure's awesome, but yeah, I think that's to me at least the way you want to approach life. Is that right? Because I think this is a thing. Like everything is naive, right? Like if you look back at yourself like 5 or 10 years ago, it's cringy or whatever. Maybe you're past that, but for let's say regular people,
let me put it this way: when I look back, there is a necessity for me to be compassionate towards my past self for not knowing better.
Yeah. Okay, that's a nice way of saying.
Yeah. And that's ideally what I want. I want to be looking back kindly at myself. rather than looking back.
You did a good job for me being for the me that was 10 years younger. And
yeah, who really didn't know what he was doing. All of the many.
Yeah, but you did what you were supposed to do, and now we're here. And thank you.
Right.
And yeah, and like you're gonna see things that you didn't see before. But yeah, you want that compassion, I think, to be easy. Like it's easy to have compassion for someone that's trying to do the right thing and is good to those around them. And then just makes mistakes or whatever because they're naive or they don't know what's going on. Like it's much easier to have compassion for those people than someone who's being a dick because they think being a dick is how you should live in life. Man, can we talk about game B? It's a game B. Wait, what's your status? I gotta fill you up first. Some people are super sensitive about their game B-ness.
Like, do I not like game? I don't know. What is my set? I'm fine with game B.
Okay. Some people are super into like game B as in no, it's this new thing that has never been invented before. There is nothing remotely existing that is similar to that, and it's completely and to me it's like the stuff they're saying. Like at first it was very confusing, and then I'm realizing like the stuff they're saying is the stories that I hear about capitalism. And their capitalism stories is the stories I hear about like communism or whatever. Where like this positive some experience exchange is the thing that like I know not everyone is like this. I know these things are spectrums and people are different, but at least the corners I hang out in, like this is all they're talking about all the time. They're like, how can we get the best positive win-win, positive sum value creation that we can possibly do, right?
Sounds like a bunch of hippies to me.
It's a bunch of hippies, but these are all like business owners and startups, right? Like Y Combinator and Peter Thiel and stuff. Like all these guys are always talking about, you're creating value and you're capturing some of that value. And that's what you're doing as an entrepreneur. And then capitalism is all about, and then it's more like the conservatives talk about the capitalism side, where they're like, capitalism is about mutual exchange for the positive benefit or something, for the benefit of both parties. So every time you make a trade, you're creating value.
You have a sandwich and I have $5, and I would rather have the sandwich than the $5, and you would rather have the $5 than the sandwich. And so we're both increased in utility by doing the swap.
Yeah. And that's what they call capitalism. And I think that's just like the game B seems to be a bunch of people who, I don't know, they have this weird idea of what capitalism should be. And then they say, no, not that, it's this other thing. And then they just do this story. Which, by the way, I think this is the correct capitalism story because this is Adam Smith. Like if you read Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations, this is what he talks about, right? It's very like proto, like we're much more advanced now than when he was, but this is the basic story and the basic idea. And like he's kind of, I think he's the guy that coined it actually. Coined the term capitalism. But that's the thing, like that's the story of capitalism. And to me, a lot of game B is just like there is this other aspect of the meta crisis and I guess psychotech and
so let me just Adam Smith was born in 1723, and he was a Scottish economist and philosopher who was a pioneer of political and economy and key figure during the Scottish Enlightenment. 1723 is when we went, yeah, let's like work out what is the capitalism thing.
Yeah. Before that, it was like, I think they had like mercantilism, which is somehow different than capitalism, but seems pretty similar. I think it was sort of state approved or something. There's something about state. Huh?
He wrote Wealth of the Nations in 1776. It was quite a while ago.
Yeah, it was right. It was right before the U.S. declared independence.
Sorry, I'm just blown myself into the like, what is 2076 gonna look like? What year numbers count upwards? Oh no, what a wreck of a world we will be in by 2076.
Yeah. This is like one of those like future prediction things where I'm just like
Well,
it's really hard to predict the future.
let me tell a little story. I was born early 90s, and I had the perception of like at some point your life starts happening, like you're in school and then you're learning stuff, and then maybe you're in university and you're doing whatever, but then at some point your life starts, and that's supposed to have happened already or happen soon. And I wonder how many people for which the pandemic just went, oh, your life actually starts after the pandemic is done. So like,
oh yeah,
like many people in our society, like anyone who's a couple of years younger.
My life is on hold now for 2 years.
Right, many people are in that, right? But we're gonna have that explosion where everyone's life starts after the pandemic.
I don't think that's necessarily true. I think that's what I think is going to
pandemic, but there's still something that will feel like it has started after the pandemic.
Yeah. I think, to me, this life starting thing is. Do you want to go into this life starting thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, this life starting thing, and then we'll go back to Game B, or maybe not. But the life starting thing is an interesting phenomenon because, like, I did experience that.
My life has still definitely been going and doing, and there are some, maybe it's some parts of life have paused or taken a break, especially given the lockdowns in various jurisdictions. And then for them to reopen up again will be feeling like it starts again. And I guess the same thing can happen if you go on like a long meditation retreat. If you're in isolation for like a year meditating, you will feel like you're doing this thing, and then a different life will start after you leave that. Or if you complete a degree, or if you change jobs, like a different life starts.
Yeah.
With a big enough change in life circumstance, or you get married.
No, yeah, but no. Like there's something. Okay, so maybe there's a couple things going on here. So there's different levels. There's when you do something new, there's like this sense of your life is starting and these new things, and it's sort of a clear new beginning kind of thing. So if you start a new job or relationship, or you just have like a phase shift. But there's something like a specific one of those that is your life. Like some people are waiting for their life, like they're waiting for their life to start. They're waiting for that Luke Skywalker moment where he gets the droid R2-D2, right? Where he gets the droid and he gets this message from Princess Leia saying, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi," right? Like there's something different where Luke is just on this planet. Like maybe I should not move into that metaphor so much, but there's
many of a narrative has the like call to action. There's the dark mysterious figure in the tavern who has a mission and says, "Here's your mission."
Yeah, like that stimulus of someone coming in and being like, here, like this is that external locus of control, like the external disturbance. There's a technical term for this that I can't remember. Where it like that disturbance where you're like, okay, this is my life now. Like I have to go rescue the princess. And I think people, like there's a lot of people that just sort of, that call to action.
Maybe a wake-up call. It's that moment where you find out you have cancer and you're like, what the heck have I been doing with my life up until now?
It's I have this friend that just went through that. Like I saw him before, and like he was like smoking tons of weed, and then then I saw him again recently, and he's just like completely different. And he's like, and then he's like going through and he's talking. He told me a little bit about that change, that like that impetus for change of he saw the potential way his life could go, and was like, no, I'm not doing that. You know, so there's this. It's like a very like
what is that thing? What is the seeing the potential? Like if we could, what popped into my mind is, what if we could give lots more people the like, this is where your life could go, like send them that message in a like relatively gentle.
I would love that. Yeah.
How do
I
we
would
do
love
that?
that. Okay, so I had an idea for a small version of this. For like when you're like in high school or you're graduating high school and you're trying to figure out what you want to do with your life. Like I remember, like I don't know, I still don't know really. Like what do people do? Like what's the day-to-day of all these jobs? And so like I think there should be someone like where you go through and you're like, okay, an accountant, right? What does an accountant do? And you just sort of like shadow an accountant for a day, or
Right.
you could just do this on a YouTube channel where somebody.
That's what work experience is supposed to be.
Yeah, but you need to, like, at least for me, like I need to try all the jobs.
Right.
Because there's all these things. What are you interested in? I'm interested in everything, but there's a lot of things I hate doing, and a lot of things I like to.
The book, Bill Burnett, I think it was, Design Your Life, where the suggestion is to, if you want to move into an industry, see if you can, like, if you want to move into veterinary, see if you can volunteer at a vet so you can see what they're like.
Yeah.
Before you spend 3 to 6 years, depending on the degree, getting qualified and then getting there and going, whoops, this is
yeah. I have a doctor friend that does not want to be a doctor.
Yeah. And there are other pathways in medical science that you can use your medical degree for, but maybe you thought of that, or at least shadowed a doctor before you went into medical school. Like,
like if you're like if you get you're doing like surgery and you're like, oh wait, there's blood involved. Like I don't
what did you think was gonna happen?
yeah, that one's a pretty dumb one. But
also, like, maybe you can get over that. It's just blood exists. There's a lot of blood in the world. Humans are made with, 70% water. There's a lot of blood. Maybe it's not so bad.
Yeah, and that's real. Like there, like definitely like anything you're gonna do, there's gonna be things you don't like that you get used to. But it's also like, what are the percentages, and like also like let's say accounting versus like mathematician, right? Like they both have numbers, but it's very different, right? Even though you're both just.
I don't know what the everyday life of a mathematician is, but it seems.
Yeah, I don't either, but it sounds really interesting, and I'd like to know. But it probably is not as interesting as I imagine.
Lots of big whiteboards around. I feel like there's two tracks. One is lots of big whiteboards around where like writing things out and trying to like piece them.
Yeah. That's how they do it in the movies.
And then a bunch of sitting around while doing like, we don't know how to do that, right? There's no like, this is how you work something out. And so working something out involves a lot of sitting around. That's one.
Yeah, you're sitting around talking to people about these ideas.
Right.
Like that sounds so interesting.
Right, but then there's another track of sometimes an engineer comes to you and it's like, we need a model for this. Can you model this? And so you go and you like ask them a bunch of questions, or you try and do some math for them that can model. So occasionally you've got real world math going on, or some business person is like, we need to predict something here. Can you solve this problem for us? And so, or there's object where we're dealing with space, objects are traveling like this, and we need a model for like holding all the math. Can you do that? So I imagine there's like something more practical in the mathematical, and sometimes that happens, and sometimes the like staring at whiteboards happen. And
but then how do you pick, like, let's say you like one of these things and you don't like the other. How do you you figure out that, okay, if I go this career path, then I will be the guy that gets to sit around.
So hopefully maybe one of them's pure math and the other one's applied math or something. But
I don't know. This is the thing we need, I think, because we don't know this, right? This is the thing that we need. I think there is a market for this of like I would love a YouTube channel where they just they just go through
professional and they say, the professional says, my job is this. I do A, then I do B. I get into work.
And then you get to see them working. Right. And you're going to see, is this something I want to do or not?
There was a comedy sketch where it was something like an autistic reporter goes into a prison and asks a prisoner, like, what's life like in prison? And the prisoner's like, it's very regimented. They give you meals.
I saw that. That's the Onion.
you have to do exactly what they say, and only read books, and the autistic reporter is always like, how do I get to prison? What do I need to do? I need to kill someone. Okay, I need to kill someone to get to prison. Got
it. Yeah.
Very structured routine. Well, and that's like, I would like to live like that person does. Right. So if we could go and find a whole bunch of professionals and have them say, this is what I do in my day to day. I meet people. As a surgeon, I have 3 surgeries a day. I spend 15
and what's
rubbing
surgery
myself.
Like you're just cutting people, cutting shit. Like that seems cool. I like cutting stuff, right? Like, or is it like, no, you're actually super stressed and like
you have to concentrate all the time. It's very intense. You hold people's lives in your hands, but
is it? I've been in an OR. It wasn't that intense.
Right. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is. But what's it like from the surgeon's perspective? Yeah, it would be super interesting to have a whole variety of them. What does a politician's job actually entail? I reckon half their job is actually talking to people. Like, I have to go to this function because I'm the important person.
Yeah,
and responsible.
Because they're this famous person like that shows around, and they have to talk people up into donating, and then they have a campaign manager. But also, like, they have to pick the campaign manager, and if they have bad ideas about how they want the campaign.
Right. Even like, what is an actor's job? I spend 90% of my time memorizing things, getting into character, understanding.
Yeah.
Or is it I spend 90% of my time on set, loving it, hanging out with people, and 10% of my time memorizing? I don't even know.
Yeah, exactly. And then also like, and then all these other things, like how do you how do you progress through the career or through the field, which is a thing. But that's more like specific, like you're gonna want to know a lot of that. But there's also like how long does it, like how does that process work? So like stand-up comedians, the way I hear it is it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. So they wind up just doing their thing over and over and over and over again for 10 years until they get and finding the right people to like hang out with until they get lucky, and then they
have people suddenly see them and laugh about their jokes, and suddenly they have a crowd and they are viable as a business.
And then what does that business look like, right? Like, let's say I want to be a rapper. Can I just, there's a bunch of career paths I guess you can go, where I could try to get a record label, or I could just start rapping now and hope that our audience members like it.
Well, we live in a nice little YouTube-y world where some people can rise to success quite quickly.
Yeah. And I think there's different strategies, and I think there's something about, especially like, because YouTube's not that old, and also like the social medias and all that. There are always new strategies evolving. But even like a rapper, like, do rappers or stand-up comics, like you're not doing stand-up for 8 hours a day every day, right? Like that's probably pretty crazy.
So
are you writing 8 hours, 7 hours a day and then presenting one? Like,
do you remember the song Fireflies by Al City?
No, sing it to me. Tell me a few verses.
First of all, no, I can't sing. Second of all, maybe I can just play it.
No, it's gonna be. Is it copyrighted?
It'll be like 5 seconds of it.
I don't know. They might copyright strike us.
Yeah.
I don't know the song.
Okay. No?
Oh, yeah.
So I remember this particular song. And I remember it because I was probably about 16 at the time, which I might be wrong about that. I could have been a bit younger or older. But I remember this song coming into my awareness because someone sent it to me, which means that person was listening on various channels where people would send each other music in such a way that person felt inspired to send me a direct link. Hey, listen to this. And that was like, this song managed to reach my ears because it spread, or at least organically enough, to reach me, to be like, hey, listen to this, that's a good song.
Right.
And I remember that going like, how the heck did this happen? How did, like, I'm not a very musically interested person, and so hearing that song was like, or having it arrive to me was impressive, because why would that information come to me?
Now I feel like we're moving into information systems and nodes and how they're connected.
Yeah. But there are a lot of things that are connected. Even Antifragile, right? That as an idea has traveled various communities. And I keep picking on it because it's a great example of so many connected phenomena. Like, how did you hear about it? How did you know about it? Like, even I know it's Taleb, he wrote a book called it. Like, I've never read the book. I don't know enough about it. I don't think I like it, but I really don't have a clue.
Yeah, this is relevant to us because we're doing this podcast, and I guess we want it to spread, and we're going to be doing other things that we're going to want to spread.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious your thoughts, because I know I have like thoughts around this that I don't have the whole picture, but I have like some things that I think are cool.
I think that good ideas and good work spreads very quickly. Also, if it's findable. And like sharing work in various places or talking about.
What's that? There's this number of like if the thing is going to be viral or not, it's like past 1 or something, where
the reproductive, like a virus, right?
Yeah.
If the R number, if every person
if the R number
spreads it to 2 people, then it's going to grow, which is unlikely.
Well, if every person spreads it to more than one person, like it just needs to be like R 1 point whatever, technically.
Well, you probably doesn't happen. What you probably end up with is most people don't spread it, but 1 in 10 people spreads it to 100 people.
Yeah. So that's what's his face? Someone talks about this, where you have early adopters, you have super users, you have early adopters, you have mad people, and then you have like the late people.
Mm-hmm.
Tipping point. I think it's Malcolm.
The Tipping Point was a book by Malcolm Gladwell. So perhaps.
Yeah. So he talks about that, how the population is distributed in this bell curve, and you, when you're making something new, you want to find the people that love it. So you want to find the people
and spread it.
Yeah. So you build it for the people that love it, and then those people tell their friends, and then as you expand your circle of influence, you tell their friends, and then you have to make the product in such a way that the people that love its friends are going to like it.
Right.
And then those people's like you have concentric circles.
So potentially, and this is funny, potentially the product for the first adopters may be different to the product for the second or third adopters.
Yeah. Because the first one's just generally they just want the thing, like that's how you know if you've hit like product market fit. If your product sucks and people really want it, then you're doing you're doing the right thing, and then just do it better and you'll be able to scale.
Right. Secondary product looks prettier, has less.
Products. It's just like, I'm just gonna make this for you right now, and then they're desperate for the thing, so they're gonna take whatever it is, and then as you're doing that relationship, you understand the market better, you understand their needs, you understand where they're coming from, and you're able to better design the product for them, which is allegedly translates to for their friends, for the people around them. But there's something about I guess the first techno song or something, like the first of any sort of genre. You're gonna find, let's say the first heavy metal song probably sucked, but there's this, and most people don't like heavy metal, but there's gonna be this small segment of the population that really loves heavy metal, but they didn't know it existed. It didn't exist, and then they hear it and they're like, this is the best, and then you get into that niche and you develop your product there until you can saturate past them.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is like the capitalism mindset. Well, speaking of game being,
I mean, I can just very quickly branch us out of capitalism. I like the idea of making impact on the world. Even
Yeah, me too.
without feeling like I am doing it for a currency trade. I just want to make the impact. It's kind of cool to make good, make impact, make positive.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think this is like that bigger thing that we were talking before, like that journey through life. And you're gonna want, like, that's kind of the thing you want to do at the end of the day, is sort of make a positive impact and have all the other stuff on like, it's a higher level of abstraction. So you want all the things lower, like you want survival and replication, safety, and things like that. But yeah, that's the path you want to journey on, because that path, the real treasure is the friends you make along the way.
If I'm making a difference and making friends along the way,
because think about it, like, if you're like, I mean, like, we met each other because we're both trying to do this thing, and we resonate with each other. Like, a lot of our the way we see our world overlaps.
Daniel, you are the friends I made along the way.
Yeah, I am the treasure. See, and that feels really good. Plus, like, the other benefit of, like, if you hang out with people that are trying to make the world better, they will make you better. And they will make your environment better. Like, obviously you want to hang out with those people, and they're not going to hang out with you unless you're also doing that.
Yep.
Cost of entry.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I kind of want to, like, okay, end podcast. That was amazing.
Yeah, like, that's like a good point. Like,
we can wrap up here. We can just do a short one.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
We didn't really go back to game B, but yeah.
This is game B. Right? Like, if game B is not doing this, they're not really game B. And I think this is like, they like to make it much more complicated, which I also like to do because it's fun. But this is essentially it, I think, in a nutshell, unoperationalized. Is that's how you're going to, because they talk about making the new system in the old system, and that's how you make the new system in the old system, is you start making the world better, and that creates a salient landscape for you, and you find other people that are trying to make the world better, and that they will help build your salient landscape, you'll help build their salient landscape, and you guys will be in the same world together. And then you're in, that's game B. Just, like, do it right. Yeah, I could say things on coercion and stuff, but we'll leave that for now. We'll leave that later.
We'll go, like, Psychotechnologies.
Woo!
Yeah.